Huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Squarespace is the easiest way to start your own website. Thank you, Squarespace. Woo! It is good to be back to my roots. Today we are talking about the Fosi Audio MC101. It's like Star Wars binoculars. Yep. Not only are we going to talk about this amp, but we're going to compare it to this amp, the Fosi Audio V3, the darling, the little hyped, cheap audiophile amplifier. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about the Fosi Audio MC101 versus the Fosi Audio V3. Yay! MC101, right? They put it in a font that, like, I know I'm getting super old when I'm like, I can't read that. Do you have a flashlight? I can't read the small text. It's on the back, too. You really have to angle it to see which is the right channel and the left channel. Anyway, the 101, MC101, has a 3116 Texas Instruments in it, doing all the heavy lifting. This, the V3, has a 3255 Texas Instruments amp chipset inside. The difference between these two chipsets, well, there's probably a little bit sonically, but it has mostly to do with power ratings. You can put a giant, beefy power supply, a 48 volt, 5 amp power supply on the V3. This one, to be exact, it's huge. However, you should not put this power supply on the MC101. Why? Because right there, you can't read it because the font is it's like a light gray color. It says 12 to 24. 48 is more than 24. So the power output of the MC101 is limited in comparison to the V3. What are the ratings? I don't know. The website says 100 watts. Not the website, the Amazon listing. Shoot to through. I was just listening to AC/DC. One of the cool things about these amps is I forgot just how good they are and how fun they are to listen to. All right, what does it say? 100 watts times 2 into 4 ohms. Doubt you're going to get that. THD of 0.035%. Signal to noise ratio greater than 100 dB. I'll tell you this. I had the Emotiva B2 Plus hooked up. 4 ohm speaker, fairly low sensitivity. I was driving them just fine into like the 90s, low 90s. So let's get to know the MC101 a little bit better. But first, a word from our sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace has been good to us, my friends. They are the easiest way to start your own website, and they've been a big supporter of the channel from almost the very beginning. If you are at all interested, curious about starting your own website, then you should run on over to squarespace.com/cheapaudioman and check out how easy it is to start your own website. The only thing that you have to do is type in a few things about yourself or your business, select what you want to do. Do you want to sell things? Show off your portfolio. And then Squarespace is going to serve you up, spit out dozens of templates that you can choose from. And then the only thing you have to do is drag and drop your pictures, double click on the text box, and then fill out whatever you want about you or your business. Are you a soda enthusiast? Then go over and check out the domain sodaenthusiast.com or .net. And if that's not available, maybe check out crazysodaenthusiast.com. I get it. You might be intimidated to start your own website. It's difficult with the HTMLs and the Javas and all that stuff. But Squarespace takes all those fears from you. They have a wonderful help center. So if you want to do something and you don't know how to do it, just type it in. They're going to give you articles, even videos to tell you how to do what you want to do on your brand new website. So go to squarespace.com/cheapaudioman and use the code cheapaudioman to get 10% off your first order. Everybody should have their own website, even if it's just a family website. Put pictures of the holidays. Do full resolution downloads on your website. Then you don't have to worry about downloading some super low resolution file and then your mom taking it over to Walgreens and printing it out and your poor kid's all pixelated now. You don't have to do that on Squarespace. So run on over to squarespace.com/cheapaudioman. Use the code cheapaudioman to get 10% off your first domain, your first website. Do it today, squarespace.com. Thank you, Squarespace. MC 101, take a look at it. Obviously, it has a little thing in the front. That thing is what we call a VU meter. It jumps around with the music. On this VU meter, it basically has -20 up to 0, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in red. Here's the deal. It's for looks only. You're not really going to be able to use this in a functional way. I mean, I was pushing the heck out of the Emotivas, and I was in the red the whole time, and it wasn't distorting at all. But it is super cool to look at. Fun, retro. You have 3 knobs on the front. You have a volume knob, which in this case is orange. A little orange accent around the VU meter. Very cool. 2 tone controls, neither of which I can read because of the okay, if I get it right at this angle, I can read bass on the left, treble on the right. And whatever frequency they have the bass adjustment at, it's really nice. A lot of times it's too low or too high, but I think this is nice, beefy, right? Maybe at 100 hertz, 80 hertz or something. But you can turn it up just a little bit and it really gives you some thump. Treble, I didn't really feel the need to use. We're gonna get into how it sounds next. And then right here on the front, you have a toggle switch. It's either off, Bluetooth, or RCA. I don't really use the Bluetooth. If you need it, it's there. But don't go to Taco Bell for a while and get yourself one of these. This is a Weem Mini. It's about 80 bucks. And then you have AirPlay, Chromecast, fully functioning, high-res streaming, all sorts of stuff. And then you just hook this up to this, okay? So it has Bluetooth. What's on the back? On the back, very simple and straightforward. You have RCA inputs right here. You have a preamp output. You have speaker posts, binding posts. It's the usual fare, okay? I wish they would get a little bit better binding posts and spread it out a little bit more, because if you have bigger speaker cables, you run out of real estate pretty quick over here. It was fine though. The preamp output is a 3.5, so if you want to hook up a subwoofer, you're going to need a 3.5 to an RCA cable. Then you have the power barrel input here. Standard power brick. Again, it comes with a 24 volt, 4.5 amp power supply. Did I say that right? 24 volt, 4.5 amp. So about 100 watts. You got a curvy case right here. No heat sinks to speak of. I guess the case itself is the heat sink. Never got very warm for me, and I was pushing the speakers pretty hard. But keep in mind, if you look at the heat dissipation on the MC101 versus the V3, you can tell that the V3 has a lot better heat dissipation than the 101. Does it matter? Not really. Let's talk about how it sounds. Within about 5 minutes of having this hooked up and running, it really wasn't even 5 minutes. It was like the first song. I was listening to some Mumford & Sons, but then I turned on Shoot to Thrill by AC/DC, and I use that to check if I have things wired correctly, because the guitar comes out of the right channel initially. So if I have stuff hooked up wrong, it'll come out of the left channel. Anyway, came out of the right channel. Literally right after the guitar came in, I'm just smiling. And the reason why I'm smiling is because this is $85. And it sounds really good. It's clean, it's punchy on the bottom, and you have tone controls, and it gets plenty loud. Easily getting into the 90s. Things started falling apart a little bit, and this is a long throw volume knob. So I thought, because I was just continuing to turn it, I thought, I'm just going to be able to put this thing at full tilt and it's going to be fine. But the last 1/8 of an inch right here, I think I started hearing some distortion. Now, it was already plenty loud, and you can't really expect an amplifier of this size at $85 to be pumping out 100 dB cleanly. Just bear in mind, though, you may not want to put this thing full tilt. If you are going to use it just as a power amplifier and not use the volume on here, back it off about 1/8 of an inch. Depending upon your speakers, you're still going to be easily playing into the 80s in the near field. I'm not talking about like 10 or 12 feet away, but in the near field here at my desk, easily into 80s, popping into the 90s with it backed off just a titch. Sonically, I thought this was actually a little bit sweeter than the V3. The V3, I think, has more clarity. You hear into the music a little bit more. It doesn't quite have the bass pop that the 101 does. Although when you have 48 volts on this thing, there is a lot of dynamics. But the 101 kind of felt like, I don't know, a 70s vintage receiver compared to the V3. A little bit funner. At lower volumes, maybe a bit of a V curve. The V3 definitely pushed the vocals forward a little bit more. I was listening to Throw Me Away, Korn, MTV Unplugged. I think that's the track. It's the last track and it has the Japanese taiko drums. And man, the 101 was really moving the bass driver. But the extra power that the V3 had with the 48 volt power supply, you could really tell a difference. And when we're talking about power, getting things from 85 to 95 dB takes 10 times the amount of power to get it to 85 dB. So if you're needing that extra oomph, then really need the V3. I think in most situations, the MC101 is going to be purchased for a small system, a desktop system, and I think in that regard, it does a wonderful job. I think the V3 with the 48 volt power supply can actually replace some real component size pieces of equipment. So, what are my final thoughts? The takeaway here is they are both great little amplifiers. I had a blast with both of them again, and I'm so glad that I did this review because I forgot how good they are. I think the MC101 is a little bit funner. It's not as audiophile as the V3. The vocals aren't pushed as forward on the 101 as they are on the V3. Still remarkably clean and punchy for what it is. Did hear a bit of distortion at full tilt, but you're going to hear distortion at full tilt on just about any amplifier. It's fun looking, it's affordable. If this thing would go on sale for like $70, even at $85 at the retail price, it's an incredible deal. If you want something that looks a little bit different than just a black box, then take a look at the MC101. It's a ton of fun. I had the SMSL SU1 hooked up to this running DAC duties coming out of a Weem Pro streamer, and it was spectacular. So for $80 for the DAC, for $85 for the amp, you're at $165. Put on some speakers. Sony SSCS5 is another $150, so for about $300 you get a crazy system. Add the Weem Mini for another $80, and it's going to be all smiles at your house as you stream all of the awesome music. Another winner from Fosi Audio. Keep in mind, it's not going to put out the power that the V3 is, and it's not supposed to. We're talking about twice the amount of voltage for the V3 as the MC101. But if you have reasonable expectations, I don't think you're going to be disappointed with the sonics of the MC101, especially if you're feeding it a good signal like you would get from the SU1, the SMSL SU1. If you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. You can use the links in the description. Those are affiliate links, which means if you click and you buy, I get a commission. It doesn't cost you any more, though. That's a great way to support the channel. You can sign up for Amazon Music, Tidal, or Rune. Links in the description. Those are also affiliate links. And finally, you can buy me a cup of coffee. Down at the bottom of the video, there's a thank you button. Click, throw a couple of dollars my way, but don't feel compelled to buy me anything. And finally, if you got this far, please just like this video and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu or spend a ton of money on your near field setup. Get yourself a Fosi Audio MC101 and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.